A willingness to act like a leader before you feel like one. It's really hard to get better and look good at the same time. Really hard. One of the greatest things in the world is for you to just put yourself in an uncomfortable situation and deal with it. Just deal with it. Go do the presentation, even you have no clue what you're going to say, and put a smile on your face and say, gosh, I don't know. This is my first presentation, and just deal with it. Handle it. You're not going to be prepared. There's not going to come a time where you say, you know what? I've come through boot camp, and I am now ready. It's not going to happen. You know what I was willing to do? Put myself in potentially humiliating situations and deal with it. Changed my life. Changed my whole life. This little decision. A couple ways it exhibited itself. One is, I've told the story. If you've heard it, you can hear it again. When I was building at the very beginning, we had a meeting structure. Today, a lot of it's online, but we had an actual physical meeting structure that every Tuesday night we would do an opportunity presentation in a hotel. About a 45-minute presentation followed by a little meet and greet, kind of get together, circle up the chairs afterwards. And then on Tuesday night, we would invite those people to come back on Thursday night. We would do it again. And then we would invite those people to come back on Saturday morning, and we would do it again, and followed by a quick start training. And that was our whole business. That was everything. Tuesday night, Thursday night, Saturday morning. Tuesday night, Thursday night, Saturday morning. And I got pretty good at inviting people to come to that event. I learned through hunger and experience. Some people I had to pick up because they weren't going to show. Put them in my car because then they had no way of escape. And just go hang out. Come on, it's an hour. I learned how to be persuasive for them to come take a look and have somebody else tell the story. I learned how to overcome the objections. I learned how to do it. And I was known in the Twin City marketplace as a person who always had at least one guest. Always. I had at least one guest. I'd be sitting here, and my job was to sit here with my guest and say, gosh, isn't this amazing? Gosh, isn't this unbelievable? And I'd be nodding my head like crazy, sitting up front. Somebody says, raise your hand. I'd raise my hand. I'd be the first one to applaud. I'd be sitting on the edge of my chair. I wouldn't be answering phone calls. I'm not lounging like this. I am into it. My job is to take my enthusiasm and transmute it into her body over the course of those 45 minutes without even saying a word. Right? That was my job. When I went to those meetings, that was my office. That was where I was making money, getting people involved. Okay? So I'm 23, 24 years old. Bringing one person every time. Okay? Meetings were tight, man. I had this mentor. His name was Michael Nelson. Michael, he had that town running. You know the person who runs the town, right? He had the town running. The meetings were tight. The displays were awesome. Air conditioning was perfect. There's just enough chairs in the room for the people that were in the room. They added chairs one at a time to make sure you always had a sold-out room. The music before the meeting was amazing. Afterwards, everybody circled up. Name badges were perfect. Everything was amazing. All I had to do was plug in, drag people in, sit next to them, say, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Then afterwards, I was saying, what'd you like best about what you just saw? And I circle up. I introduce them to some big shots. Life was easy. Then, Michael went to Indianapolis, Indiana to build for 90 days with a new team, and he left town. And the meetings went right into the garbage. They were so terrible. They used to be 45 minutes. They started being 2 hours long. People were given seminars. The testimonials, instead of 60 seconds, they were like 15 minutes at the end of the presentation. Everybody was talking to their one prospect they had in the room. The music stopped happening. People weren't paying attention to the air conditioning. It was too hot or too cold. Way too many chairs for the number of people. One person snuck into the meeting one time, and then the people at the registration desk turned into the absolute police force. Are you a distributor? Yes, you are. I saw you last week. Pay your $5. The guests were going, whoa, this feels a little weird. No name badges, display fell apart, the whole deal. So I'm like freaking out because I'm bringing my guests to this now, and my guests are looking at me saying, I would never in my life bring one of my friends to this event. I am out. No thanks. This was my only way of building business. So I didn't know what to do. I went to the committee. There was a little committee running the town now. And I asked the committee, hey, guys, can we tighten this up? And they're like, hey, we have a meeting next month. You can come talk about it. But it's fine, relax. Like, oh, come on. So, mind you, I have no money at this point. I'm broke. I got just enough money to just survive, keeping the wolves away from the door. I have no room to breathe. The people that I'm bringing, those that are joining and the products that are moving are keeping the lights on barely. So I did something. They canceled the Thursday night meeting, the committee. Then now they're just doing Tuesdays and Saturdays, and they were talking about canceling Tuesdays. And I could see within a couple months it was going to be once a month. And all the whole infrastructure was going to go away. And I'm scared out of my mind because this is the only way I needed this to eat. This is my only way to survive. So I did something that scared me. I mean, the physical fear in my body is difficult to describe. I went to the Embassy Suites in Minneapolis, Minnesota, right by the airport, and I asked to look at their meeting room. I have no money. I have no following. The committee's not behind me. And I saw this little meeting room that could hold maybe 80 people, something like that. And I went and asked, how much does it cost? Yeah, that's the one. How much does it cost for a meeting room? $200 for one night. This is like the 20th of the month. If I do this, I don't pay rent. But I felt like I needed to do something. And I kept looking around and nobody else was showing up. So I said, is there any credit, any payment structure? And she smiled and said no. So I went to the bank and I got $10, $20 bills. And the act of doing it was emotional. I'm emotional thinking about it. I went back to the Embassy Suites and I said, okay, I'd like to reserve for 10 days from now on a Thursday night. And my hands physically shook when I was handing over this money. This money that's a tip for me today. This money that's just, it's not even, but then, and saw this little smile on her face like, aw. I signed the contract. And I went to work. And I had 10 days. Now, first thing I had to do was all the things that I was complaining about, that I was expecting other people to do. The display had to be on point. The name badges had to be right. The sign-in table had to be good. The handout packages had to be nice. Somebody had to make sure the air conditioning was done. My mom remembers this meeting. And then I had to figure out how to do a presentation. I'd never done a presentation. I'd done a testimonial, but now I got to do the whole thing. I went to the committee and said, hey guys, I'm going to do Thursday night. They said, we don't think it's a good idea. We're not going to support it. Good luck. Best thing that ever happened to me. So, I had to learn how to do the presentation. I wrote it down word for word. I rehearsed it 500 times. I put it on a cassette tape, and I listened to it over and over in my car like 500 times until I had it down. My little presentation that I'd never done in my whole life. And now the biggest, scariest thing was, I can't just bring one guest. How embarrassing will it be if I'm there with 2 chairs, me and one person, in a room that holds 80? Nobody's going to help me. I don't have much of a team. So you know what I did? I called every single person I knew. Every person I knew. 200 people, day one. Called them all. You know what I told them? If you love me, you'll be there. I don't care if you join. I don't care if you buy. Your job is to be on time and nod your head and say to everybody else, isn't he something? That's your job. If you're my family, you'll be there. If you're my friend, you'll be there. I'm not saying you have to be there every time, but you got to be there the first time. If I was opening a restaurant, I'd expect you to be there on opening night. This is my opening night. I need you to be there. Will you be there for me? And I didn't believe most of them when they said yes, so I called them the next day. I'm just confirming that you're going to be there. And then I called them the day after that. I called everybody I knew every single day for 10 straight days. I wanted to change my life. I was sick and tired of being behind on everything. And I got to tell you, I was scared. Oh, my God. The hours coming up to that. That very first night, I had 48 people show up at this event. My very first event, 48. Right? Pretty good. And I personally sponsored 18 people. 18.